Hi guys, how are you? I hope you enjoyed the last two videos, and this is the third video of the excretory system. And in the last two videos we have defined the waste materials and different excretory organs and the main excretory system and their structure. And today we have to study about the function, how it is functioning, how the kidneys are functioning in order to produce urine. And here you can see, I told you in the previous lesson, and kidneys are made up of nephrons. Nephrons are microscopic and they are the structural and functional units of kidneys. Here you can see I have taken a section of nephrons here, and you can see the enlarged image, and I told you very clearly the nephrons are microscopic. Here you can see the enlarged image of a structure, how it has designed in order to filter. And first of all, and here in this video we see two things. The first, we study the parts of the nephrons, and the second, we study what are the steps involved in the formation of urine. And first, let's have a look at the structure. It is a very highly intellectual structure designed and created. And here you can see, I told you in the previous lesson, all the waste materials are given to the blood. Finally, by filtering the blood, we can separate them. So that's what's happening here. And you can see the renal arteries. Renal artery which is connected to the systematic arteries. This comes as a branch, and it is divided into lots of small arterioles. And one of the arteriole goes into the nephrons. You can see there is a cup-like structure in the nephrons. It is cup-like. I have drawn as a cup-like, but it is an entire structure covered by this called Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsule, and that is the first structure, like a cup-like structure, and into that the renal artery, the arterioles are going inside. Once the arterioles enter into the Bowman's capsule, the arterioles are divided into even smaller capillaries. You have studied in grade 9 the arteries divided into arterioles, branched and divided, and arterioles divided into smaller tube, that is called blood capillaries. Here you can see the arteriole divide into thousands of blood capillaries and making a network of blood capillaries. That network is known as glomerulus. So inside the Bowman's capsule, you can see the glomerulus, a network of blood capillaries, right? And after the filtration process happens into the Bowman's capsule from this, and once the blood is filtered, the filtered blood come out as all the capillaries connected together, making the arteriole, right? Again, it comes out. Right, so what happens then if you take the Bowman's capsule? The Bowman's capsule include the glomerulus, and it is lengthened by different tubular structures. Initially, you can see the proximal convoluted tubule is connected with the base of the Bowman's capsule. Right, and then it goes down, we call that descending limb, and it takes a U-turn again, we call that place loop of Henle. Right, again, let me come again, there is a cup-like structure called Bowman's capsule. Into the Bowman's capsule, we have a network of blood capillaries known as glomerulus, and that the Bowman's capsule just lengthened by different tubular structures. The first one is proximal convoluted tubule, is connected to the base part, and it lengthened into descending limb and turns, take a U-turn. That part is called loop of Henle, and again the tubular structure goes up, and that is known as ascending limb. The tubular structure that goes down, descending limb, and takes a U-turn, loop of Henle, and it goes up, that part is called as ascending limb. and again it is convoluted. We call that distal convoluted tubules, and finally, and that is connected to the collecting duct. So collecting ducts, you can see in between lots of nephrons, you can see one or two collecting ducts. All the distal convoluted tubules are collected finally to the convoluted collecting duct, and these collecting ducts are moving towards the pelvis region of the kidneys, and all the collecting ducts are facing this pelvis region where the urine is finally formed. And here you can see, and the structure is okay. Let me tell them in order: the glomerular, the network of blood capillaries, the Bowman's capsule, proximal convoluted tubule, descending limb, loop of Henle, ascending limb, and distal convoluted tubule finally connected to collecting duct. And collecting duct are facing into the pelvis region of the kidneys. And now let's have a look at what are the steps, how the urine formation process happens into this. It happens in 3 different steps. Children, listen to me clearly. Urine formation happens in 3 different steps. The first one we call that ultrafiltration. You can see here the steps of urine formation, ultrafiltration, and the second step is selective reabsorption. Finally, the third step is known as secretion. All these 3 steps happen in 3 different places of each nephrons. You can see ultrafiltration, selective reabsorption, and finally the secretion. And now let's have a look at how this process happens in different parts of the nephrons and what are the purpose of this process. And if you take the first one, ultrafiltration happens into the Bowman's capsule in this region. You can see in that first step, ultrafiltration, glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule both are involved. But it has a very nice, beautiful mechanical mechanism in order to filter. And what is the physics behind the process? Even in this biology, physics is very important for the process. You can see the beauty of the physics that helps for the ultrafiltration. Why we call that as ultrafiltration? If you take the blood contains so many things, children. It has RBC, WBC, platelets, and you know there are 5 different types of WBCs are there. These are the blood cells. And the blood plasma contains so many things. The nutrients from the digestive system, hormones, medicines, gases, salts, iron, minerals, almost all the things are there. So what is happening here, the reason that we call it as ultrafiltration, it does not remain anything, it filters everything. Except 2 things in the blood. One is the blood cells. 3 different types of blood cells cannot be filtered, and the second one is the blood proteins. You have studied albumin and globulin. They act as transport proteins. The materials which are very difficult to move, they helps to move. They act as ambulance. You can see even if it is high traffic, the ambulance can move faster into the people will give space to them. Likewise, whoever facing difficulties to move through the blood, the albumin and globulin will help them to move faster. And here, because of their size, the blood cells and blood proteins have a bigger size than any other components in the blood, so that they cannot be filtered into the Bowman's capsule, except they too, all the other materials will be filtered into the Bowman's capsule. Thus we call that as ultrafiltration. I hope you can understand this clearly, children. Except the blood protein and the blood cells, all the other materials will be filtered into the Bowman's capsule with the help of physics. So let's have a look what is the physics behind this filtration process. If you here you can check this. The blood enter into the Bowman's capsule through a tube, and it comes exit by another tube. It's a continuous tube. But if you check the diameters of the entrance and the exit, there is a difference, right? Entrance, the diameter of the tube that enter is bigger than the diameter that exit. So you can see very clearly, and I can tell you a very familiar example. You can check, children. So when you do plumbing, you can see you may able to connect two tubes with bigger diameter and smaller diameter. So we use a connector here. So if you let the water goes even slowly, the water comes faster through the smaller tube. So what makes this increase in this speed? So the amount of water that you enter has to come in the same rate. So even if you let them enter slowly, it has to come with a smaller tube, so it has to come faster. So the reason of this fast is the change in the pressure in this point. Speed is here fast, it is slower, it is faster. The reason of the fast is the increase of pressure in this point. So it is very clear, let me tell you. And if you connect one bigger diameter tube and the smaller diameter tube, the place where you connect these two, the pressure will be higher. You can see this is a middle point. This is a bigger diameter, smaller diameter. So this is the middle point where the pressure is very high. Listen to me clearly. Here the bigger diameter, smaller diameter, it creates a high pressure into the glomerulus. High pressure into the glomerulus, low pressure in the Bowman's capsule. And there is a pressure difference. You know what will happen? The components will move from higher pressure area to low pressure area. That's the nature, right? So because of this, except the blood cells and the blood protein, all the other materials will be filtered into the Bowman's capsule. That solution is called as glomerular filtrate. That solution is whatever the solution filtered into the Bowman capsule is called as glomerular filtrate. And that glomerular filtrate is most similar to the blood plasma. You have studied by centrifugal, we can separate the blood cells and the plasma. Plasma is pale yellow in color and the liquid, and that is more similar to the plasma. And except one difference, it does not contain any protein molecule, but the blood plasma contains blood proteins. That is the difference, and all the other factors will be equal here. But during this process, children have a clear look. During the ultrafiltration, that filter does not know what is needed for the body and what is not needed for the body. So it just closes its eyes and blindly filter everything. In that glomerular filter, we have some required useful materials and the waste materials. Both of them are present. So it is not effective or efficient to let them all go out as urine. So we have to reabsorb, recollect the useful materials from that glomerular filtrate. So that's the process happens next to the ultrafiltration, that is selective reabsorption. So all the glomerular filtrates flow through this proximal convoluted tubule and descending limb. While they flow through this, using the energy of the body, and these parts will reabsorb the required materials. So you can ask, what are the required materials? What is not good to release as urine? That's a very important material is water. So water is required. The bigger amount of our body is made up of water. Almost all the cells need water. So it may be we have to manage the water. The water management in our body is done by kidneys. So how are they managing water? By reabsorbing. I told you amount of glomerular filtrate is produced during ultrafiltration. While they flow down, you can see in this point, right, 95% of water will be reabsorbed into the blood. So listen me clearly, and if 100 milliliter of water is filtered here in the Bowman's capsule, 95 milliliter will be reabsorbed, again only 5 milliliter remains. And what are the materials else that is required for the body? The second important one is glucose. And without any doubt, if you are a healthy person, 100% of glucose from the glomerular filtrate will be reabsorbed into the blood. So 95% of water and 100% of glucose if you are a healthy person only, right? And other things, you can see vitamins, minerals, salt, and even some small amount of urea is also reabsorbed in order to maintain the pH level of blood. But very small amount will be reabsorbed. They will be reabsorbed in different amounts, but 95% of water and 100% of glucose will be completely reabsorbed, while the other things remain small amounts. So this is called as selective reabsorption. This process consume energy for this purpose. Okay, now we have filtered and we have reabsorbed the materials that we need for the body, and now there are only waste materials. But the important point is some more waste materials have escaped the filtration. So they will be in the blood. So you can see around this tubule, you can see a very rich network of blood capillaries, and whoever escaped the filtration will be caught and forcefully sent into the nephrons. That process is called as secretion. And how it happens? What are the materials secreted in this way? Mainly some ions, H plus ions, K plus ions, chlorine ions, Cl minus ions, and medicine materials that you have consumed during your time, right, time periods, and then medicine and some amount of hormones will be secreted forcefully into the nephrons in order to release as the urine product. And finally, after all this process finished, finally urine is produced and is given to the collecting duct and goes to the pelvis, renal pelvis, and through the ureters it has taken into the bladder. And you can see, you may have a doubt why medicines are released. Yes, once you have taken the medicines, they will be digested and distributed to the body parts, and finally the remainings will come to the liver, where they will be catabolized, broken into different components and filtered by the kidney. Hormones also same, right? They will be secreted by one organ and they will work in another organ. After the work has finished, they remain in the blood and they will be filtered by the kidneys. A very famous example is HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin, and this is a hormone of indicator of the pregnancy. You can see, right, if you anybody is pregnant, and they will take a urine sample and test with different types of test kits, or it can be found in pharmacies as a pregnancy testers. For your extra knowledge, I just give you this HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin, and then the presence of this HCG hormone in urine of female indicate the pregnancy. So it's very clear the hormones also excreted with the urine. So these are the process. Again, let me repeat the three processes: ultrafiltration, selective reabsorption, and secretion. So then these are the process happens in each and every nephrons in order to produce urine. I hope you understood this lesson, and let me meet you in the next and last lesson of excretion with some different types of diseases that may affect the excretory system. Until then, bye from you.